Hi everyone, my name is Anne. Thanks for tuning in today to Art on the Creek. We are here in my home studio in Parker, Colorado, and I have something to share with us today. I'm going to do a little unboxing and an initial review of the Hippie Crafter pastels, sketch pads, and watercolor pens and watercolor paper. So let's see what they're like. I've never heard of this company before. Maybe you have. But let's play with them today and see what we can create. Shall we? Here we go. Well, like I said in the beginning, I have never heard of Hippie Crafter, and they reached out to me and said, take a look at our website, pick some things that you think that your audience would enjoy, and we will send them to you. So that was very generous, and I thought, okay, this will be fun. Let's try it. So I asked them to send me pastels and some of the sketching paper, as well as the watercolor brush markers, brush pens rather, and some watercolor paper. So we'll take a look at the sketchbook and the pastels first. The sketch paper is sold as a set, as you can see on the sticker there. It's a little bit thin as far as sketch paper goes. I think it's only 65 pound, 100 GSM, but it's fine. It works for sketching, and in fact, I think my favorite sketchbook upstairs that I keep in front of the TV is about the same weight paper. So we'll have to see what kind of tooth that has on it. The soft pastels here, it says that they're artist quality and that they have vibrant pigments. All of the things that you want to read about an art supply. However, there is no light fastness information and there is no color name, color chart, no pigment information. So right away, even though it says premium quality, professional artist grade, I would be highly, highly skeptical about that, and I would feel like these are probably aimed at crafters. And the name of the company, Hippie Crafter, same thing. That is not a negative at all. I like using hobby level, hobby grade products or student grade products simply because in this market, not everyone can afford professional grade art supplies. And you still want to be creative. So in the description below, I will put a link to all of these items, and you can decide for yourself if it's something you want to add to your collection or if you want to scroll on by and look for the next review. It comes in a little banded sleeve there, and then the box opens up. That was in a shrink wrap, by the way. I think you saw me open that. And then there's this little cardboard insert here with a window to the colors. They look pretty good in the box. They look really vibrant. They look pretty cheerful. The box itself is shrink wrapped also, so let's cut that open and then we can take this plastic off. As far as packaging goes, they do a lot of shrink wrap. I know that a lot of people are plastic averse, and just wanted to show you how these come packaged, so in case that's an issue for you, then maybe these would not be something that would appeal to you. I like the look of them. I like how clean they look. Just to on first glance, I really like how they've got this like a vellum paper around them. The Hippie Crafter text is clean. It looks good. I would be happy if I had purchased these and I've never experienced pastels before. I would think, oh, this looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Because in the box, they're pretty. They're a good size, they're square. I like working with square pastels. Most of them are round, and it's kind of nice to have a square shape. So I enjoy it because you can use the corners for a while until that gets a little bit. Whenever I'm doing, when it gets dulled and rounded, whenever I'm really working on detail in pastels, I like to use a pastel pencil because you can keep that a little more precise. Pastels work on just about any surface that you want. That's the one thing I really love about pastels, is that it's painting and drawing all in one, and you really don't need special paper if you're just going to practice on things. The paper that I really love to use are the Strathmore toned mixed media pads. or sketch pads even. They work really great for pastels because they have just enough of a tooth to them, and you can just put some glassine in between each page and then be absolutely fine. Let's see how this one compares. The paper is very thin. In fact, I thought that that was like a facing page, but the next page is thin also, so we're going to go with it, and it's just, yeah, it's just a very thin paper. But like I said, for sketching with pencil, I didn't try colored pencil on these, but for sketching with pencil, great. Really, really good. In fact, I like that. I like them with pencil. And these will probably become sketchbooks that get very well used and loved in my home and studio. So let's see, I'm going to swatch through these, and I'll speed this part up until we get to a couple of the colors where I had just some minor issues. I really enjoyed swatching these out, with the exception of a couple of the colors, because they had kind of a weird coating on the pastel that really prevented color from going down. So let me slow this down and I will show you. Now it starts right here with these purples. It just really felt scratchy and hard, and you can see I'm looking at it to see if there's something on it that I was supposed to take off. It just wasn't acting right. So I thought, okay, well, let's try the next purple, and look at that. I can't even get pigment to come out. So I'm going to see if I can scrape off, well, let's see, I'll use the end because I think it's the sides that might have some kind of coating on it. And that ended up working really well. So I'm going to go back and use the end on the lighter purple, and it didn't work too well. So let's go back and just continue sketching, and we'll see what I can do with the rest of these. Not sketching rather, but we'll continue the swatching here. The rest of them actually worked really well. So back up to 8 times speed here. You can see these are really going down vibrantly. Good pigment laydown. Had a little bit of issues on that green there as well. Same thing, it just felt like the pigment wouldn't go down. But all in all, the initial swatching left me intrigued enough to want to use them. And that's exactly what we're going to do. I've just got this slowed down here so you can kind of see how nicely these lay down. You know, no expectations that they're going to rival anything like a Sennelier pastel, but as far as being comparable to, let's say, the Mungio or the Paul Rubens, absolutely. Let's test these on some black paper now that I've got my black sketchbook out. Now this one is a little bit thicker paper, and it's not from Hippie Crafter. This is a different one that I purchased a while ago. But I like testing pastels on black paper, and really enjoyed doing that on this, with the exception of those purples. You can really see how the pigments just jump off the black. They look very, very good. They're very opaque. Lots of color lay down. So those 2 purples and that second green on the last row there really had some issues with the pigment not wanting to lay down at all. Let me set these up for you here together. Now I've got it back to normal speed, and I'll try and zoom in so you can really see how nicely these lay down. And this is just regular sketchbook paper. The paper in my hands now, the black one, is from that sketchbook that I have. Like I said, it's a little bit heavier weight, but the tooth on it is comparable to the one that they sent from Hippie Crafter, and just wanted to show you what they look like on black. And here they are on the white. So let's move on. Let's try and create some art with these, and let's see what we can come up with. I've got a picture in my my file here of some viburnum leaves, and since it's still the middle of autumn, even though we have gotten some snow, a lot of snow, let's go ahead and paint these. They're really kind of pretty leaves, and I wanted to see how these pastels layered and acted on this paper. I don't have a paper stump blender with me handy here, so I'm just going to be using my finger and kind of just zhuzhing things around a little bit to the best of my ability. And I was pleased. The tooth on this paper does fill up quickly. I think on about the 3rd layer, that was about all I could do, and then it wouldn't blend anymore. That was it. It was saturated. So as far as a pastel paper, I don't think I could recommend this, but the pastels to work with are fine. If you're looking to just get a set of pastels so that you can explore and just try and play with them, this set is perfectly fine. It will serve you a good purpose. Oh, you can see my great reflection there. I'm drawing this mouse because I wanted to see how this paper was on just with sketching, and I like it with pencil. I think it's really good just sketching. But as far as a pastel paper, I think it would be better to use something with a little bit more texture. But the pastels are fun. they're easy to use, and I did like them. So with that, let's move on to the watercolor brush pens. So let's get into the second box that they sent here. The boxes, as far as packaging goes, everything was shipped really well. Nothing was broken or spilled out. Everything really was packaged quite well. Let's see, let's open these out. The watercolor brush pens, there are 25 colors in here. Again, they say they are professional artist grade and premium quality. I think I'll get into that in just a minute. I know they're not artist grade. They're definitely very much a dye. But I'm curious about this paper. It's not cotton, so we'll see how it works. For watercolor paints and mixed media, 9 by 12, 30 sheets, and it is, does it say? It is cold pressed surface, and I'm trying to see if it's 300 GSM. It felt like it is. Let me grab it here, and oh, sorry about this, guys. I will read it to see. She's right there in big letters right in the center of the paper. 140 pound, 330 GSM, and it is a natural white. All of these things would lead me to believe that this is going to be a good paper for a student to use, but it remains to be tested if that's a true thought or not. So let's open it up and we'll give it a go. The paper looks good. It looks sturdy. It's a pad, so that means there is adhesive only on the top, but you can definitely take it out of here, tape it to a board, however you want to do that. 9 by 12 is a good size. I like that. I like that it comes in two. You have 30 sheets, and if you're using it to practice, you can certainly paint on the back so that you can then have 60 sheets. And let me just take a quick peek here. The back is textured the same way as the front, so you've got that opportunity to have that cold press texture on both sides. There's a little tape at the end of this box here, and we're just going to slide these out. It's in a clamshell packaging, and let's see what all is included in here. Just a little bit of information on the back. It says it goes well with the watercolor paper, and the picture on the right with all those bottles, they have a lot of resin products and epoxy products if that's something that interests you. You get a water brush in here, and as water brushes go, this one's great. It's very easy to use, and it's a good water brush. It does have that situation where you turn it the opposite direction to open it, so don't be stymied by it. Just try turning it the other way. So it's a decent little water brush, and it looks like it's going to last just like all of the others that come with sets that you may have already. So it's a decent little water brush. This is just a brochure of the things that are on their website and a little thank you note in here. It does say thank you for the fabric markers. So I'm pretty sure some things are lost in translation here. It seems like all of these products are made in China somehow, but the company is located in Florida, I think. So it's definitely using imported goods, which makes sense because it would be less expensive to make. So with these watercolor brush pens, they're full of a dye that is water-based, and what you can do is just draw on your watercolor paper and then come in with a wet brush and spread it around. And I really like this notion. I like the idea that you could take some kind of a brush tip marker, and this is a real brush tip on here. These filaments are man-made filaments, but it's a real brush at the end. And then I just want to get this started here. We'll squeeze it a little, get the water to come out. And then you can come in with just a water brush like this and just blend it out and fill in the area that you're wanting to paint. But these don't do that. I thought I was going crazy. I'm looking and thinking, is it even spreading out? Is that my eyes, or is it just not working? I know I'm in a very dry climate, and it's possible that the pigment that I put down has already dried, but okay, let's try the green. Nothing is working. That's disappointing. Let's try something else. I'm sorry this shot isn't framed quite the way I wanted it, but I've got a ceramic palette out, and I'm just scribbling a little bit of the color down, picking it up with my brush pen or my water brush, and there you go. Now it's painting. Okay, there is a considerable drag on this watercolor paper. It does not feel like other watercolor paper that I have used. It feels very, I don't know, it feels rough. It doesn't feel friendly. I'm a very tactile person, and this paper is not making me smile yet. Nor are these water brush pens. So let's go through and swatch them out, and let's just see what happens. So more swatching here for you. You can see I'm just kind of putting the pigment down on the ceramic palette there in a little puddle, and we'll come back in with our brush to lift that up. The colors are very pastel-y, springy kind of colors. I don't have any problem with that because you know, they're bright. They do look a little bit pale though. Here's an example of that, a real brush tip. I hope you can see on my fingernail that it's kind of splaying out there. This is a neon pink. Let's go through and continue and see what all these look like just on the ceramic palette itself. I'm going to take a break in the swatching here just real quick to mention that these are dual tip watercolor markers, and you can see here I've added this piece after all of the swatching and testing is done, but it's a very fine tip there that you can see, and it is just on the opposite end of this brush filament that I'm going to show you here in just a moment. This lid on the fine tip was a little bit difficult to remove, but other than that, I think they'd work just fine if you are doing some coloring, some adult coloring books. Now let's get back to that swatching. And my friends, it is a real mixed bag. You'll see that some of them are really juicy and some of them just aren't. It's just no rhyme or reason. Some of them are very pale in how much color they lay down, and some of them seem to have a little more staying power. So let's try now swatching these out with the water brush on this paper, and it's acting really weird. It's almost like it's as if, and I don't know, but it's as if this paper has no sizing on it, which is so strange. I'm going to compare it on a cotton watercolor paper that I really like, and that's this small sheet here, and you can see it's working the way I think that the product was intended to work. Let's just try and do a little rose doodle here on both of these. Now the cotton paper is on the left, and again that's a sheet that I had from my supplies, and the Hippie Crafter paper is here on the right. This is the rose that I'm working on now. You guys, there's no movement, nothing is happening. It's just frustrating, and you know, this paper, I'm sure it's good for something, but the drag that I'm feeling and the way that this marker just isn't even mixing, it's not fun. I can tell you that right now. I'm not having a good time. It's a little bit more fun over here, but I just am not a fan of these brush markers. I think the best way to use them is to put them in the palette and then paint with them. But the color laydown, the pigment is so incredibly pale. Look at the difference here. Look at the difference in how it will spread and move with the cotton paper on the left as opposed to the Hippie Crafter watercolor paper on the right. I'm going to try and go in with some wet on wet with these pens just on the wet here, and you can't do that. It just doesn't lay down anything at all. I'm not convinced that this product is worth anyone's art budget. Let me try one more test. I'm completely willing to admit that this might be user error. There might be something that I'm not doing right. So I'm going into some traditional watercolors now and just laying down a swatch on the cotton paper. And I'm going to do the same thing on this Hippie Crafter paper over here. Now I've got more paint on it this time, so it's a little more vibrant. But can you see that? Well, I don't know if you can see it. I'm sorry. The feel of it is that it's just very draggy, and I've got to push the paint around and really kind of force it to do what I want it to do. I'm going to go in here now with some red next to this ultramarine, and let's just watch these kind of blend wet on wet. As those two colors run into one another, you can kind of see them merge a little bit and you know, combine. Over here on this side, they don't even try to combine. It's the red is sitting on top of the blue. Wood paper does dry a lot faster than cotton paper, but there should be at least some mixing there, and I'm just not seeing it. You can see I've done some other mixes here with some blue and yellow, and again, the paper in my left hand, the 5x7 small paper, is 100% cotton, and you can see that green really did mix in the middle, whereas the yellow and blue on the Hippie Crafter paper just kind of sat there. There's a slight bit of mixing, but not a lot. And you can see, I think that the swatches themselves just aren't all that vibrant. They're all very pale. That's kind of disappointing. Let's try something else though, because I'm willing to admit that it could have been user error. I'm going to start over. We'll get a fresh start, and let's just see what we can do. I think what I want to do is pick up this particular pen that I saw in here that seemed to put down a little bit more pigment than some of the others. Here it is. It's this red one. It's kind of a nice lipsticky red. I really kind of like this color. But you know, here's the thing, guys. We have so many dye-based art supplies available to us. For instance, let's take the Viviva color sheets for one. You can get so much more vibrant laydown with the Viviva color sheets than you can with these. I really wanted these to be as portable and as fun as those, and in my opinion, they're just not. So I'm trying to make just a ball here. Let's go back in with the water. We've laid down a considerable amount of pigment. It's pretty dark there, and it's just not moving. It just doesn't want to spread. Now, it would probably work a little bit better on the cotton paper. We did see that with that little purple squiggle line that I made, that the pigment does move a little bit better on the cotton paper. But on this particular paper, it is just sitting still, and that's so frustrating because part of the joy in using watercolor is letting those colors move and play on the page. Let's get into using the palette again, and let's see if we can at least make some semblance of a gradient ball on here. My doubts are high. Let's see what happens. You know, a lot of us right now are really working on a budget, and it just makes sense to find quality art supplies that don't break the bank. I really wanted to like these. I wanted these to be in that category. You can see that I am just beyond frustrated here because I'm giving up. I can't get it to work, and I don't think, honestly, in my honest opinion, that I can recommend these watercolor brush pens. The paper, I'm very skeptical about the watercolor paper. You can try it. Maybe you would have better luck with it than I did, but I think for a wood pulp paper, you'd be better off using something like a Canson or a Strathmore. I think you'd be happier with that. The sizing on this one just seems to be a little bit off. If you want to use these brush pen markers with some cotton watercolor paper that you already know and trust its performance, that might be something to think about if it's just kind of a new little medium that you want to try. But I would say with the Hippie Crafter products that I have shown you today, proceed with caution, know what you're getting into, and if you're looking for some hobby supplies that would be a little bit fun to use, I would say, first of all, of the ones I've shown you, I would definitely recommend the pastels and the sketchbook paper, but I would maybe be a little bit cautious about the watercolor brush pens and the watercolor paper. Sorry, guys. I really want to be honest with you so that you don't spend money on something that maybe you wouldn't be happy with. I hope everyone is having a great week, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye now.